Good morning, my fellow Michiganders. Good morning, my fellow Americans. I am extremely honored to have Congressman Tim Walberg on the show this morning to kind of open up and explain exactly what's going on behind the scenes right now. So, without further ado, welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning, Garrett. I guess I could almost say good morning, neighbor, since you used to live not far down the road from me in the Onstead area. So,
Absolutely. And you're from Tipton originally, correct?
well, we're from the Tipton Onstead area. That's where we've lived for the last 45 years of our life. Same spot, pretty much halfway between Tipton and Onstead.
Yep. And I'm proud to be from that area, the Irish Hills area. It's a beautiful area. And not a lot of people have heard of Tipton and Onstead, that's for sure.
No, and that's kind of why we enjoy living there. It's a lot of open space and good people, but we have our spaces in between.
Yes, sir. You're exactly right. So we're going to get right into it because obviously you guys have a very, very active day. I don't even want to say busy. It's extremely busy. It's totally active, especially what's going on with the speaker and especially Congressman Steve Scalise dropping out of the running, correct?
Yeah, he did that last night. Ultimately came to the conclusion that he was not going to get the 217 votes. He was getting closer, but there are some hard nuts out there that were unwilling to move for whatever reason. And we had long family discussions about that. He had discussions in his office for a significant amount of time. And ultimately, for the good of the conference and good of the country, he said, I am going to step aside. He'll stay as the majority leader, but not be speaker. And so that left Jim Jordan as the only other of the two that put their names forward. I mean, to stop and think, we had two great people and two true conservatives as well, somewhat different in their approach. Steve, as the whip, minority and majority whip, and then leader of the majority, had that aspect to him. Jim, there's no better guy for doing interrogations, running the Judiciary Committee, making the Biden family squirm, and all of the rest. He's a good leader, led his committee well. So we'll see if he keeps his name in the ring today as we go down there. He's fraught with problems as well. There are people that will not vote for him. Can he bring them across? I, for one, believe we had two good guys. We ought to move it forward. We can't let this continue. We can't let a minority rule the majority. And that's what happened when 8 of our members joined with all of the Democrats and took Kevin McCarthy out. For what reason? Only they know. And it appears that it was an intent, at least on one of the individuals, from the day that Speaker McCarthy became Speaker.
And that's why, that's why you voted no to oust Kevin McCarthy, because Lisa McClain came on the show last week and she was kind of under what you're saying right now, saying, hey, we got to move forward. And now, the Democrats with their spending and everything else that's going on, they're unchecked. And we need leadership now more than ever, especially it's not one or two issues. Obviously, there seems like not only our whole country is a dumpster fire, but now we have world, right? With Ukraine, with the Israeli conflict. It just goes on. And, we talked about this before. So many people are armchair quarterbacking. Everybody has an opinion, and, social media has really exploded that with people spreading misinformation. But like I told Lisa, look, like, you guys have made the decision to not only run for office, but to get elected. And you guys are in the ring fighting the bull, and you have all this stuff going on, and you're just trying to do what's best for the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I've told people, the election of a speaker, it's a secret election in conference, election of our nominee. That's the one issue I will never accept the advice or the mandates of my constituents to tell me who to vote for speaker. Number one, they don't know the speakers. They don't know the individuals. I've lived with these people. In this case, Jim and Steve and I came in the same class. All three of us are good friends. We have to work with them on other issues, whether it be the price of gas or whether it be taxation policy, whether it be foreign policy. I'm certainly listening to my constituents. I represent them. I don't represent just one of my constituents. I try to represent the majority of my constituents in carrying out my functions. But there are some things where people, would like to tell me who to vote for speaker. But when I ask them, how well do you know Jim Jordan? How well do you know Steve Scalise? Well, we don't, but we've read about them. Well, that's a problem. So what we need to do is move forward. And then, Garrett, you'll understand this, that you can have with the various medical associations you are associated with, chiropractic council, all of the rest. They can give you guidelines. They can even give you directions to do things. But in the end, you're working with your patient, and you know your patient. And I think that's the same as I represent my constituents. I endorsed Donald Trump. He's endorsed me as well, thankfully. But I endorsed him. And while I would listen to people about who they thought I should endorse for president or vote for president, I'll take that, I'll listen to it. But in the end, I'm going to do what I think is best from who I know to be best. The same way with this here. But right now, we have to move forward. If we can't even put a resolution of support for Israel on the floor of the House because we don't have a speaker, that's a problem. If we can't continue to move the remaining 30% of our spending package through, that's a problem. Because if we don't do that, the Senate will ultimately do something. It'll be an omnibus. We'll turn it down, but it slows everything down. If we can keep doing, we've sent 80% of the spending plan over to them already. They're sitting on it. There's money for Israel in that NDA and defense bill. There's money there, the normal expenditures that would help Israel. And yet Chuck Schumer's holding it up. If we don't have a House organized with a speaker put together to go to Chuck and say, listen, we've done what we're supposed to do. We're not taking your omnibus. We've given the plan. If you really say, Leader Schumer, that you're behind Israel, and you ought to be because you're Jewish, then get it done. And that's where we're at right now. It's frustrating, but we'll get through it. And today we'll spend a lot of time working on the rules and then seeing who wants to be nominated. And we're gonna stay through the weekend and into next week.
Well, let's get in a little bit with the spending and stuff, because I think that's where a lot of people are frustrated, because I'm in agreement, like initially, when you kind of analyze everything, you can't have Putin controlling all these natural resources. You just can't allow him just to go in. So in the beginning, we're supporting, but we have sent over $113 billion to Ukraine. Now we have the Israeli conflict that's going on, and we're sending more tax-paying dollars over there. Now, look, I'm all about policing the world, and I think a lot of the viewers and listeners are in agreement with that. But if we don't take control of our own house, then we have no business trying to police the rest of the world, because, especially with the invasion, and I'm calling it an invasion. I mean, I did the data and I released this video, in 2022 alone, 2.76 million undocumented immigrant crossings and 2.8 million in 2023 as of right now. And we all understand not all of those folks are bad, right? But I'm going to show a video right now of just some of these folks. These aren't all just women and children. These are military-aged men. And I want to show you this video real quick, just so people are aware of what's coming across.
Where are you going? Chicago, New York, California? Where are you going?
New York, inshallah.
Okay, you?
Indiana.
Indiana? Thank you. You?
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. You?
New York.
You?
Charlotte.
Thank you. You?
Charlotte.
Charlotte. You?
New York.
You? Kentucky. You?
Senegal.
And where are you going?
Fuji.
New York?
Address. Address.
So you kind of get the point there. And what happened was, that was a 5-minute video going down the line. Not one woman, not one child, all military-aged men. Right. And the states and cities that I heard was Massachusetts, Ohio, New York, California, New Jersey, North Carolina, Michigan, Columbus, Ohio specifically, DC, Las Vegas, Charlotte, North Carolina, everywhere. And so I think where people are getting frustrated as we continue to try to police the world, we need to get our own home in order first, because 113 billion to Ukraine, holy cow, we could have finished the wall for 8.3 billion. We could have funded entire police departments, the border patrol, to at least stop the invasion of what's going on, because people are starting to get concerned, especially with the Israeli conflict with the Palestinians and Hamas, and they're calling out for a day of jihad today, so everyone in America right now, unfortunately, even where we're from, small rural areas, now the odds of that getting attacked are very small. And I don't think anyone wants attack Tipton in Ohio or Tipton in Onstead, because they're going to get a fight back, because the country folks can survive. But I think that's where most of the concern is right now, is the invasion. What would you say to that?
Well, remember all of those country folks going to the U of M or MSU game.
Yeah.
I mean, these are concerns, and I've been down to the border multiple times, 2 times this year already. I've seen those faces. I've seen the bus loads coming in, and we have the resources on the ground. We had the steel on the ground without spending another dime to enforce our border. We have the agents who are trained, ready, and wanting to do the job they were trained to do, but not allowed to do it by Mayorkas. Mayorkas, more than the president, let me say this clearly, Mayorkas, more than the president, should be impeached. Mayorkas lied to Congress. Every time he says the border is secured, he lies, because it isn't. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen dead immigrants as well who drowned coming across. I've seen women and children who have been raped and trafficked. And then when you see the faces of potential terrorists, and I'm not saying all of them were, but they're potential. And then you know how many got away, and we don't know where they're at.
Yeah.
And we know Hamas is attacking Israel now, our most faithful ally. And Iran is lapping it up and supporting it. We know we need to stop that. We need to stand with Israel. We know the agenda there. In Ukraine, we're asking now the president to give us his plan, his agenda. We want to defeat Putin. Trump wanted to do that. And because Trump stood firm on Crimea and gave Ukraine defensive weapons, Putin moved no farther. But when Trump was gone, it all started again. Israel is the same situation, I believe. We can do the border with the resources we have. We've passed in the House of Representatives, and make sure your people understand this, your viewers, we passed H.R. 1. That was the border security bill. Or excuse me, H.R. 2. H.R. 1 was the energy security bill. H.R. 2 was the border security bill. We passed that by itself over the Senate. They're still sitting on it. We put it in our NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act. We put it in there as well. We attempted to put it in a continuing resolution that sadly 21 of our own folks stopped. That would have been there as well. So we have the plan, we have the capability, we have the resources to do that as well. We just have to have a majority in the Senate and a president in the White House who will sign it. But that's where this program right now educates people that the only one standing in the way of getting this done is President Biden or whoever is pulling his strings.
Yeah. Yeah, we can see it. I mean, he's not running. In my humble opinion, he is not going to make it. He's losing faith of the middle, that's for sure. And I think Gavin Newsom, he's burned California to the ground. And the biggest issue that the corporate media refuses to talk about is, taking away parental rights and everything else that's been going on in California. In middle America, suburban mothers are not going to like the issues that he's been standing on. And I feel the only person left is someone who you're familiar with because you live in our state, is Governor Whitmer. If you've been following her on Twitter, she has been trying to paint Michigan as sunshine and rainbows.
Well, whoever it is, and this is why we need to narrow our eyes, as it were. You were a wrestler. I was a wrestler. We went onto the mat and we put a face on that indicated you got to go through me. We have to understand that whether it's Biden, who I concur with you, most likely is not going to be the candidate.
Yeah.
Whoever it is, whether it's Gretchen Whitmer or whether it's Michelle Obama or whether it's whoever, they have to be seen exactly the same as Biden or worse. we have to understand that they do not have the same goals and policy and desires for America as a free country, making its own decisions and leading the way for the world. We have to understand that. And that's where joining together and stopping the infighting within the Republican Party and within the conservative independents that are out there as well, an understanding that this is a war for the future of our country, to be a country that was designed for liberty and justice and nothing else. That's what we had. And that's why it's frustrating here, even in Congress right now, as we act like a parliament where you can have minority rule the common good of the country, as opposed to the majority that seeks for the continuation of the Constitution and the proposals that make sense in securing for our children and their children the blessings of this wonderful United States of America under a Constitution that guides us and not just mob rule.
I tell you what, sir, you hit the nail on the head. Unity. And you know this as well as I, because you're in the ring fighting the bull. If we don't win in 2024, I mean, look what they have been able to accomplish or not accomplish. Look what they've been able to burn down in such a short amount of time. If we don't unite now, we're not going to have anything to unite for here in the future, because this little idea called America will no longer exist. And I agree with you. We have to get away from this mentality that's kind of ballooned into a very, very problem as conservatives, is if you don't agree with me 100% of the time, then I hate you, I attack you, and you're a rhino and you're garbage. We have to understand that if you and I can agree on 70 to 75% of the issues, that makes us allies and friends. And we can argue about the other 25 to 30% until the cows come home. Nobody's perfect, but we all can agree that we need unity going forward, and we have to stop the infighting. We have to quit going at each other. I mean, we talked about this before the interview. I took more arrows from our own side than I did from the Democratic Party when I was running for governor in the state of Michigan. And it just doesn't have to be that way. We tend to eat our own. And I can understand that we want to hold elected officials accountable, but there is a way of doing that, which I feel the Democratic Party is very good at falling in line.
Oh, they're lemmings. They'll go over the cliff together.
Yes,
and that's why when they saw the weak opportunity, the weakness in our conference with those 8 that decided that they wanted, for whatever reason it was, 100% or nothing, and Kevin McCarthy had to go. The Democrats, even some who have talked to me and said, I didn't want to vote that way. Kevin's the best we're going to have. And not in the sense that he gives them things, but the decency that went on, the respect of the institution, the willingness to let even the other side have their day on the floor to offer amendments. They weren't going to get it by anybody else. And they didn't like the 8 that were pushing it, but they went along. And that is a danger. So we ought to, in our party, and some people say, you guys ought to get along. Well, yes, we ought to get along toward the end game. But the beauty of our party, and even more than that, our philosophy, is that we're independent thinkers, and we're willing to debate if we're willing to debate. And that's why what you're saying and what I'm saying, I hope that as we don't agree on everything within the party, and nobody understands, for instance, in Berrien County, they don't understand Monroe County, or Hillsdale County doesn't understand Calhoun County as well as people living there. And I represent all of that and have to mix and match at times to represent them to the best of my ability, the majority of people, within the confines of the Constitution that I've taken an oath of office to uphold. That's a work in progress every day. But in the end, if we ultimately realize that we understand it better than the other side, our vision of America is closer to that of the founding principles than their side. Our conservatism is very different than their socialism. And we can't go their way, so we have to hang together. Keep the feet to the fire. I don't mind people. That's why I have all these town halls that I do, so they can hear directly from me and I can hear directly from them. They can keep my feet to the fire, knowing that I can't get lazy. But in the end, we have to move together forward for the greatness of this country.
So I had to end this talk because I know you have to get busy in your next meeting. Three questions. You already answered one. You are for supporting and sending money over to Israel to stop the terrorist Hamas. Are you for or against the continued support of Ukraine? Are you for sending more money over to Ukraine as of right now?
Yeah, and I voted it for only one package. The other two packages that have gone to them had so much garbage attached to them that there was no way I could even consider it. No, I think we ought to defeat Putin.
Yep. Okay. Third, final question. I don't know if you can ask. I'm going to put you on the spot, or can't. I don't know.
No, I think we ought to defeat Putin, and I think we ought to support Ukraine to do that, so we don't have to do it ourselves.
Got it.
I don't want our troops on the ground. I don't want American blood being shed. And frankly, in my conversations with Zelensky's team, as well as parliamentarians over there and citizens, and I'm one of the few members who actually took the opportunity to go over myself, paid my own way, traveled through the war zones, whether it's Bucha, Hostomel, down in Odessa while the battle was going on. I saw what was taking place. They have a righteous goal in mind, and they want to pattern their country ultimately after the United States and our principles. But we need to know for certain what their plan is. Not simply we're going to defeat Russia and take our territory back. What does that plan involve? But even more so, I want to know what Biden's plan is, what he plans to do in getting more support from the allied countries over there in that region. And we know that there are 6 other countries that per capita have spent more than the United States so far, and that's good on them. But there are others who have not spent per capita what they should be doing. And Poland right now is backing away in a wrong fashion, and they ought to be brought back to the table. So it's a complex thing, but the basic answer to you, Garrett, is that you deserve is that I support Ukraine. I want Ukraine to win this war. I want Ukraine to take back all of their country, including Crimea. But I want to be an ally with them, knowing that all the rest of the nations over there that are closer to the conflict than we are taking their responsibility as well.
Okay, that's fair. Let's talk about Poland real quick before we end this, because Tucker Carlson just interviewed the politician over there, Dominik Tarczyński, and he's been very vocal on his anti-immigration stance, especially towards Muslims. Okay, I want you to watch the small clip that I have right here with that interview with Tucker.
Britain. Here's how it unfolded.
How many refugees has Poland taken?
0.
And you're proud of that?
If you are asking me, if you are asking me about Muslims illegal immigration, none, not even one, will come to Poland. Not even one if it's illegal. We took over 2 million Ukrainians who are working, who are peaceful in Poland. We will not receive even one Muslim because this is what we promised.
But I asked
This
not
quota
about
system
illegal
failed.
immigrants. I asked about refugees. And Jean-Claude Juncker, the Commission President, says that you're racist. You sound proud of the fact that you haven't taken any refugees.
Of course, because this is what our people are expecting from our government. That's number one. This is why our government was elected. But this is why Poland is so safe. This is the reason why we had not even one terrorist attack. Look at the streets in Poland, and we can be called populists, nationalists, racists. I don't care. I care about my family and about my country.
So, this is where I think a lot of the American people, we hear that, and the guy has a great hashtag. It's called Be Like Poland Now. Because of their hard stance on immigration. They supported what President Trump was doing with the wall, and they said President Trump was right. We built the wall.
He was.
But I think, and I agree with that, and I think where, especially me, we don't want Putin controlling natural resources. I get it's a very complicated issue. It's just not black and white, as people try to say. However, I like his approach where he's saying, we're going to take care of our own house.
Right.
And we have to do that first before we start shelling out tax-paying dollars to other countries when we have everything that's going on right now.
But I think we heard him say that Poland did take a lot of Ukrainian refugees.
Yes.
I think the interviewer was antagonistic in a way that didn't get the truth out.
Correct.
What he was saying, we're not taking illegals.
Yes.
We're not taking Muslims, illegal Muslims, and we're not taking any illegals
Correct.
coming in. We will take Ukrainian refugees to help them, and we know that. When I came in through Krakow, I saw some of that, of how they were taking care of people. That's why it's disappointing me that they backed away from allowing grain and et cetera to go through to meet the needs of the world. But that's a decision that country ought to make. We should be doing the same with our border. We were under Trump. We were saying no illegals. I was down there toward the end of Trump's administration again to look at what was taking place. The border was secure. There weren't thousands of people in the holding areas. The majority of them had been sent back to Mexico on the Stay in Mexico plan. We were bringing people through the magistrates legally. And we want immigrants, but they have to come legally.
Amen.
Legally.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100%.
Thing. And we can do it. We showed we could do it. This is an intention that right now there ought to be concerns because of what we're seeing going on in Israel. The Hamas, Hezbollah, and other terrorist organizations will have people, operatives here, just like before 9/11, that allow them to take down those planes and take down the towers and crash into the Pentagon. We are in a concerning place right now. I don't want to spark terror.
You're just giving the truth. It's the truth. And it's not like if they're here. If you can't allow millions of people to cross this border over the last 2 years and not have, let's just be optimistic, 0.5% of 5-6 million folks is what, 25, 50,000 people that could be potentially horrible people strategically put. I mean, I don't think you're being fearful and you're not trying to, you're basically telling people the truth, saying, keep your head on a swivel. Stay alert, stay alive.
Less than 20 people took down the towers.
Yeah. And you just give 1,000, or let's say 100 folks access to weapons, and you put them in a densely populated area where, like New York or Chicago, where you're not supposed to have guns, they can do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And
sure.
that's the scary part. And again, I think that's where most people are just frustrated right now, where we have to take care of our own house and then we can start policing the world again. But unfortunately, with these democratic policies and what they've been able to do in just 2 years, they have turned our country into a dumpster fire. And just to point out to the folks in the middle that are watching, because a lot of people in the grassroots army are independents, look, we had peace under President Trump's leadership, peace in the Middle East. He met with North Korea. Russia invaded Crimea under whose watch? Obama's. Didn't do nothing underneath President Trump. And now here we are with Biden, full-fledged invasion. We had some sort of peace in the Middle East with President Trump. So people got to get away from this personality conflict, that a mean tweet, how he talks. He's from New York. New Yorkers have that stereotype of being a little bit, New Yorkish. But we need leadership. We need somebody who's going to provide unity and bring our country back from the dumpster fire that these progressive leftists, these Marxists, have done.
Yeah, absolutely. And Xi was listening to Trump, but ultimately Xi saw that unless there was a way to take Trump down, America would expand so rapidly, China wouldn't catch up. And COVID came.
Weaponized COVID.
I'll leave it there.
Yes, sir. Sir, thank you so much for your time. Hey, good luck today. Rock and roll. Who are you supporting? Can you give us who you're supporting?
It's a private, secret vote. I abide by the rules of our conference. I don't talk.
I did respect that. I had to put you on the spot. I'd get butchered if I didn't.
But I'll pick a good guy.
I believe you will. Hey, say hello to your beautiful wife. Have a great day. And thank you for coming on, sir.
Garrett, thanks so much.
You betcha. Bye-bye. Wow. That was a good interview, folks. Look, that's what I will continue to do, is put these great guys and gals on the podcast to get the information. It's not easy. And look, we tend to keep it black and white. I see a lot of the emotion and passion on here. However, look, they're the ones in the ring fighting the bull. I will defend them in that way. Being in politics, running for politics, it's a different ball game. And I give respect for all who run. May not agree with them, but I do respect them for running, and I do respect them, the ones that win, and they're fighting the bull. I do give them respect. Again, I may not agree with all of the answers, just like Congressman Walberg. Like, I don't agree 100% with everything, but we're pretty close. Like, I think you guys know me by now that, you know, I'm all for bringing the truth, but I'm also bringing common sense. I truly believe right now we have to get our house in order. We have to get the United States of America in order, protect our borders, deport all these bad people who came over here illegally, clean house, get back to the basics, get the right leadership in, and then we can start the process of policing the world. But right now we have too many things going on, too many things in the fire, too many iron in the fire, right? It's just too much, and we can't continue to spread ourselves thin. We have to do everything that we can to stop terror. I get that. But right now, terror is knocking on our doorstep, and we have to take care of our own country right now and then expand out and do what we need to do to help. And for that to happen, we need leadership. And I firmly believe that President Trump is the right person for that job. This is my humble opinion. So I will continue to do my part. God bless you. God bless the state of Michigan. Of course, and always, God bless these United States. Before I get off, one more thing. Obviously, we've been kicked off of YouTube again. It's my second time being banned from YouTube, but I knew that was going to happen, so I created a backup channel, and it is growing again. We've lost contact with 240,000 subscribers. That means there's a lot of people on YouTube that still utilize YouTube, even though you may not agree with YouTube. I will continue to try to get on these platforms so those folks can get the truth. So in the link, in the description, there's a link for our new YouTube channel, The Grassroots Army. You can't type it in. They are shadow banning it. It is buried. You have to actually go to the link or type in at The Grassroots Army all in one, and then it will show up. But subscribe to that channel. Let's get that subscription base up to where it needs to be so we can get exposure to the truth to those folks, because that was growing worldwide. It was an exciting time, but you know me, I won't back down. I'll continue to get on. I'll continue to update you, and we will do this together as a movement. So in the description, if you utilize YouTube, click the link, subscribe. Have a great